Everything you think you know about fatty liver disease is probably wrong, and the reason might be sitting in your kitchen right now, because the foods doing the most damage are not the ones you've been warned about your whole life. Most people picture a fatty liver as something that only happens to people who drink heavily. But what if I told you millions of people who have never touched a drop of alcohol are walking around with a liver quietly drowning in fat, and the cause isn't hiding in some rare ingredient or exotic food? It's disguised as something completely normal, something sitting in almost every kitchen on the planet. Here's the uncomfortable truth doctors rarely explain clearly. Your liver doesn't just store fat from the fat you eat. It can actually manufacture fat from something far more common, something most people consume multiple times a day without ever thinking twice. And once that process starts, it doesn't announce itself with pain or symptoms. There's no warning bell, no discomfort, nothing that tells you something is wrong. It just keeps building, silently, layer by layer, until one day a scan reveals a liver that looks like it belongs to someone twice your age. But here's where it gets interesting. Out of everything you eat, there are 7 specific foods that act almost like a direct fuel source for this hidden fat buildup, and the order they appear on this list might genuinely surprise you. Because some of the worst offenders are things people consider treats or even healthy choices. By the end of this, you'll understand why your liver might be working overtime. Even if your weight looks completely normal on the outside, even if you feel perfectly fine. Let's start with the first one, and this is the one most people underestimate the most: sugary drinks. Sodas, sweetened juices, energy drinks, the kind of thing people sip throughout the day without thinking of it as food at all. But here's what most people don't realize: the sugar in these drinks isn't just empty calories. It's loaded with a specific type of sugar that your liver processes completely differently than other sugars. And that difference is exactly why this drink earns its spot at the very top of the list. When you drink something sugary, it hits your bloodstream fast, and your liver becomes the first organ forced to deal with the overload. Unlike sugar from whole fruit, which comes wrapped in fiber that slows everything down, liquid sugar floods in uncontrolled. Your liver, overwhelmed, starts converting the excess into fat, through a process it was never really designed to run constantly. And here's the twist: this fat doesn't get shipped out to your thighs or your stomach first. A significant portion gets stored directly inside the liver itself. But the real twist is this: people who drink just one sugary beverage a day, every single day for years, can develop fatty liver. Even if their overall calorie intake looks completely normal on paper. The damage isn't about total calories, it's about how concentrated and fast that sugar hits the liver. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Because the next food on this list works through almost the exact same mechanism, but in a way that's even harder to detect because it doesn't even taste sweet, processed foods. Now, when people hear processed foods, they think of something obviously unhealthy, something they can spot a mile away, something that screams junk. But here's what nobody tells you: processed foods are engineered specifically to be hard to stop eating, and that engineering almost always involves a combination of refined sugar, unhealthy fats, and sodium working together. Your liver ends up dealing with all 3 of these at once, repeatedly, meal after meal. But here's the deeper layer most people miss. Many processed foods contain hidden sugars under names that don't even sound like sugar. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, and the list goes on far longer than most people expect. So someone can be eating something that doesn't taste sweet at all. A savory snack, a sauce, a frozen meal, something they'd never associate with sugar, and still be feeding their liver the exact same fat-storing signal as a candy bar. And because these foods are everywhere, in nearly every aisle of a grocery store, most people are consuming this liver-stressing combination multiple times a day without ever connecting the dots. Now here's where the pattern starts to become impossible to ignore: fast food. Everyone assumes fast food is bad simply because of calories, or because it's junk. But the specific reason fast food is so damaging to the liver runs deeper than that. It's the combination of refined carbohydrates, added sugars, and a type of fat called trans fat or heavily processed vegetable oil, all hitting your system together in a single meal at the same time. But here's what most people don't realize. This combination doesn't just add fat to your liver gradually over years. Some research has shown that even a short stretch of eating this way, just a few weeks, can start to visibly increase fat accumulation inside liver cells. And the scary part is that the person eating this way often feels completely fine. No pain, no symptoms. Nothing that hints anything is changing on the inside. The liver has very few nerve endings, so it can be under serious stress while sending zero warning signals to the rest of the body. And this is exactly where the next layer of the pattern reveals itself. Refined carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, pastries, anything made from flour that's been stripped of its fiber and nutrients. Now, on the surface, this doesn't sound dangerous at all. It's just bread, it's just rice, foods that have been part of meals for generations, foods that feel safe. But here's the hidden truth. Once the fiber is removed, your body breaks these carbohydrates down almost as fast as it breaks down pure sugar. But the twist is this: refined carbs don't just spike your blood sugar quickly. They also trigger a hormonal response that tells your body to store more fat, and a portion of that fat preference lands directly inside the liver. So someone eating toast for breakfast, a sandwich on white bread for lunch, and pasta for dinner. 3 meals that sound completely normal, 3 meals that look balanced on a plate, could unknowingly be sending a continuous fat storage signal to their liver all day long, every single day, for years, without ever realizing it. Now here's where things start connecting into something much bigger. Fried foods. Most people assume fried food is bad simply because of oil and grease. But here's what's actually happening. At a deeper level, the frying process itself changes the structure of the fat, often creating compounds that are harder for your body to process efficiently. And when combined with the refined carb coating most fried foods have, like breading or batter, you're essentially feeding your liver to damaging signals in a single bite. But here's the part that very few people talk about. Repeated exposure to fried foods has been linked to increased fat storage specifically inside the liver, separate from just overall weight gain, meaning 2 people could weigh exactly the same amount, but the one eating fried food regularly may have significantly more fat hidden inside their liver, completely invisible from the outside. Invisible even on a scale. This is exactly why fatty liver disease has been quietly called a silent epidemic, because it doesn't always show up where you'd expect to see it. And now the one everyone has been waiting for: alcohol. But here's the contradiction. Alcohol-related liver damage is something most people already think they understand, yet very few understand exactly why it happens at the cellular level. And that explanation changes everything about how the other 6 foods on this list connect. When your liver processes alcohol, it temporarily shifts its priorities. Breaking down alcohol becomes the liver's main job above everything else. And while it's busy doing that, normal fat processing slows down. Fat that would normally be moved through and used for energy instead starts to accumulate. And here's the twist. This isn't just about heavy drinking. Even moderate, regular alcohol consumption can compound the fat storage effect, especially when combined with the other foods on this list, creating a kind of double hit that the liver struggles to recover from overnight. But here's where everything comes together. The 7th food on this list, high-sugar snacks and desserts, isn't dangerous because of any single ingredient. It's dangerous because it's usually the final piece that completes a pattern that's been building all day long. Think about it: sugary drink in the morning, processed snack at work, fast food or fried food for lunch, refined carbs for dinner, maybe a drink in the evening. And then dessert to finish off the day and reward yourself. Each of these foods individually sends a small signal to your liver to store fat, but stacked together, repeated daily, for months or years, those small signals compound into something far larger than any one of them alone. And here's the part that changes how you should think about all of this. Fatty liver disease isn't usually caused by one bad food choice. It's caused by a pattern, a daily rhythm of foods that each on their own seem harmless enough to ignore. But your liver doesn't experience them one at a time, in isolation. It experiences them as a continuous, overlapping wave, day after day, until the fat storage becomes the new normal state of the organ. But here's the deeper twist, and this is the part most people never hear. The liver is one of the few organs in the body capable of significant regeneration. Unlike many other organs, liver cells can actually recover and rebuild when given the right conditions, which means fatty liver in its early stages isn't necessarily permanent. The same daily pattern that built it up can, in many cases, be reversed by shifting that pattern in the other direction, even gradually. So here's where this leaves you. The 7 foods we just walked through aren't random villains. They're connected pieces of a system, a daily pattern that either feeds your liver fat or gives it room to recover. And once you start seeing food this way, not as individual choices, but as a continuous signal your liver receives all day long, you start to realize that the real question isn't which food is the worst. The real question is what pattern you're sending to your liver every single day, and whether that pattern is one your liver can actually survive long term. But there's one more layer to this that we haven't touched yet. Something about how your body decides where fat gets stored in the first place. and why some people seem to gain fat in their liver faster than others, even when eating the exact same foods in the exact same amounts. That's a deeper mechanism, and it changes the entire conversation about fatty liver disease. Now, before going further, here's something worth sitting with for a moment. The order in which you eat these foods throughout the day actually matters more than most people assume, because your liver's ability to process fat isn't constant. It shifts depending on what came before it. Eat a sugary breakfast and your liver spends the rest of the morning playing catch-up, and that catch-up period is exactly when the next meal tends to arrive, stacking signal on top of signal before the first one has even cleared. This is why two people can eat the same calories in a day, yet end up with completely different outcomes for their liver years down the line. Timing isn't just a minor detail, it's part of the hidden mechanism behind all of this. And here's something else most people never connect. Sleep and stress directly influence how your liver handles these foods. When you're sleep-deprived or chronically stressed, your body produces more of a hormone that tells your liver to hold on to fat, which means the exact same plate of food can have a different effect depending on what's happening in the rest of your life. But here's the twist within the twist. This also means the reverse is true. Improving sleep alone, without changing a single food, has been shown to support better liver fat regulation, which tells you this isn't just about willpower around food. It's about the entire environment your liver is operating in day and night. Now here's something that ties all 7 foods together in a way most people never expect. Every single one of them shares one hidden trait. They all bypass your body's natural fullness signals. Sugary drinks don't fill you up the way solid food does. Processed snacks are engineered to be eaten past the point of satisfaction. Fast food combinations are designed to make you want just a little more. Refined carbs digest so fast that fullness signals lag behind, arriving too late. Fried foods often pair with other foods, encouraging overeating without anyone noticing. Alcohol actively lowers inhibition around food choices, making everything else easier to overeat. And high-sugar desserts are almost always eaten after you're already full, purely for pleasure. So it's not just 7 separate foods, it's 7 different ways of tricking the same internal alarm system. And once that alarm system gets overridden often enough, it starts to lose sensitivity altogether, which means over time it takes more and more of these foods to feel satisfied. While your liver quietly absorbs the consequences in the background, meal after meal, there's also something worth noting about how these foods interact with each other inside the body. It's rarely just one of these 7 showing up alone in a single day. They tend to travel together, hiding inside the same meals, the same routines, the same habits. A fast food meal, for example, often combines fried food, refined carbs, a sugary drink, and dessert all at once. So what looks like one meal is actually 4 of the 7 signals arriving together. And your liver doesn't get to process them one at a time. It has to deal with all of them simultaneously in a single sitting. This is part of why fatty liver can develop faster than people expect, even in younger adults. The combinations aren't accidental either. They're often built into how these meals are designed and marketed. Sweet drink, salty fries, soft bun, sugary sauce, dessert on the side. Each element reinforcing the others, each one adding another layer to the same daily signal. So where does that leave you, knowing all of this? It's not about fear, and it's not about chasing perfection. It's about awareness, because awareness is the first thing that breaks a pattern. Once you can see the 7 signals for what they are, you start noticing them in your own day without even trying to. The morning soda, the afternoon vending machine snack, the drive-through dinner, the just one slice of white bread, the fried side dish that came free with the meal, the drink to unwind after a long day, and the dessert that felt like a small reward for getting through it. Each one small, each one easy to dismiss on its own. But together, they tell your liver exactly what kind of environment it's living in. And the moment you start changing that story, even slightly, your liver starts listening. Because remember, this is one of the few organs that can actually rebuild itself, which means the pattern you've been living isn't a sentence, it's just information. Information your liver has been quietly responding to every single day without saying a word. And now that you can see the pattern, the next move is entirely yours.